Happy holidays, everybody! Welcome to the Sub-Auteurs 2021 Christmas Special!
Woo! Jingle bells.
Ding, 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 ding,
Sorry, I
ding,
just tried.
ding.
You know that sound, that jingling sound. I can. I'm not the
You
guy
sounded
from.
like maracas. You didn't sound like jingle bells.
Yeah, I'm not the dude from Police Academy. Okay.
Right.
Okay, so given the pandemic, it might not feel as Christmassy as a lot of the previous years. So for this episode, we're just gonna keep it simple to ignite the holiday spirit with our holiday season
Woohoo!
staples. So we're just gonna be churning out some titles that we love watching during this season. And we actually had a quick survey on Instagram asking you guys what movies you like to watch during the season, and we'll share some of ours as well. So this is another fun crowdsourced episode.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for validating us, for noticing us, and interacting with us. It's always fun.
Yes, it is. And you might find that for this season, the Christmas season, a lot of people have a lot of things in common. So we're sharing movies and love and all the fuzzy feelings that come with these kinds of flicks. So let's get to it. All right. So I think I just want to start with asking you guys, are you the types of people who have this staple Christmas movie? Like, is there a particular movie you can't go a year without watching it? And if you don't watch it, the holiday season just doesn't feel complete. Like, are you one of those peeps?
Avengers Endgame, but then again, that's not a Christmas movie, so no, I'm just kidding.
What the hell did you do for the first 30 years of your life before Avengers Endgame got made? If that's your Christmas tradition.
No, of course not. What about you, Misha? You can go first.
Yes, I do. I do actually. And over the past few years, I've tried to shake it up and mix it up. But whenever I do that, my family inevitably makes me put Die Hard back on. It's got to be Die Hard and Love Actually, because these are just, I don't know, they just became staples at some point. I've tried to inject other movies in there. I tried to mix it up. I put like other movies in the playlist, but they're all like, why isn't it Die Hard? or when are we gonna get to Love Actually? I'm like, oh, I see. Okay, well, I tried to do programming, but I failed.
That's okay.
But it's
How
fun.
about you, Anjo?
Die Hard is Noche Buena movie.
Wow, you're eating food while
Well,
things
stuff's
are
exploding in the background.
and people are dying. Oh,
Hard.
oh, interesting.
They're dying hard.
Interesting. Wow. Punny.
How about you, Anjo?
Well, no, I don't think I have a staple. Like I have to see this one movie every year. But as long as it makes me feel happy on Christmas Day, that's completely fine. Because I've gone through like a lineup of many different Christmas movies throughout the years. There are a few movies that have been played more than once. Namely Love Actually and Home Alone, but I wouldn't say it's tradition because it's like it really just depends on my mood. I want to watch something funny. I want to watch something romantic. I want to watch something like violent, like Die Hard. But really depends.
All right. So I feel like such a Grinch for answering this. But honestly, I didn't really grow up in a household where we would sit together and watch movies. It was just never our thing. I typically like to enjoy movies at home by myself to avoid the annoying commentary from my parents or my brothers. So, not our thing. So, I tended to avoid Christmas movies because they're usually about families coming together and shit. And if it were a rom-com, I usually don't get to spend Christmas with my significant other anyway. So, that would just remind me of what I didn't have. So, like, Grinch. So yeah.
That's valid. That's valid.
It's fine.
So, I'm that person at the holiday party drinking wine in the corner while everybody's all merry. And I'm just like, ugh, when is this going to be over? So, for those of you who might have like lonely holidays or just if Christmas just isn't your thing, that's okay. I'm with you on that boat. But I do watch Christmas-themed movies sometimes, but I was never really one to celebrate them during the season. Wala lang, parang trip ko lang. I feel like watching this movie because because, let's say, the latest one I watched, Happiest Season with Kristen Stewart. I think I watched that in August or July, like far from Christmas, but I just like felt like watching it. But when the season rolls around, I kind of, not my thing.
I actually did catch that sometime in July, I think.
I think I saw it in the summer also. But
I mean, that's fine. You can watch Christmas movies whenever you want. It's your choice.
Can I say the thing about Christmas movies that I find is that I get what you're saying, because a lot of the sentiment that the ones that aren't as well made, the sentiment that they push is just so forced. It's like, you have to be happy. You have to be a certain way. You have to be cheerful, and family has to love each other. Blah, and it has to be this way. And yeah, I could see how that would get so really bloody annoying. And some movies, like you can tell that they were just made to cash in on the holiday. Also,
Yeah, like a lot of Hallmark movies.
except those movies have their fans.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
they have a market.
They do, and every
Titas.
year Hallmark and
Tita
Netflix,
market.
they're proud of announcing how many. Like, we have 47 Christmas movies this year.
Oh,
Yes, yes, and
47?
90% of them will have
Pretty short.
some big town person going into a small town and ending up stuck there to discover something they didn't even know they were looking for. But that's all of them. I think there'll be a dog, maybe a cute kid. There'll be a Christmas tree in the
It's the
square. But
These Hallmark movies, are essentially the same stories, just with a different skin on top of each one. It's
Yeah.
either a different town, a different career. Switch them up with like who's like the powerful male figure becomes the powerful female figure.
But I
don't
think
know.
that's
Like,
why the Christmas movies that really appeal to me aren't the traditionally sentimental ones. For example, like Love Actually is rather quite subversive in its treatment of the entire rom-com thing. Die Hard is it's fucking Die Hard, and Home Alone is just fucking Die Hard in a house. So these are not
the
your
prequels
typical.
to-
This is not Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. This isn't Frosty the Snowman. These aren't the movies that are forcing you to be happy. These are movies that you can have a good time with them any time of the year. Honestly,
Yep.
yeah.
yep,
That's
very
why
true.
I appreciated Happiest Season, because it talks about the dysfunctional family
Yes.
dynamic and how for a lot of people, they're actually dreading the holidays because they get to see like all the annoying family members or the nosy titas or like
Yeah.
the sibling that you've always had a problem with, and they're suddenly gonna unearth all of these years worth of trauma, that kind of stuff. So I particularly enjoy that because it wasn't all fuzzy and
It was real.
cuddly. It was real.
Because like a lot of us like have these things that we deal with families that we don't want to talk about, and then you're eventually subjected to the time you have to spend with your family because of the holidays. So
Yeah.
like we all can relate to that. That's why I also like that movie.
Yeah.
Also, Case 2 and Aubrey Plaza.
Oh,
Aubrey Plaza.
So we can get to the films themselves, since we've already mentioned some of them earlier on. So we actually got some answers with multiple people saying the same thing. So we can start with those and talk about why these certain movies are considered classics and why a lot of people have answered the same thing. So first off, something you already mentioned, Home Alone, of course.
That's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I love
That's everybody's
Home Alone.
favorite, I think. One.
For everybody who wants to hear
And
an
we-
extended discussion on Home Alone, we did an episode on it last year. Link in the bio.
Oh, shameless plug.
Exactly.
Galing.
Yeah. We did talk about this in last year's Christmas episode. So it's available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts.
Yeah,
Yay.
that was a
Yahoo!
fun episode.
Yeah.
That was a good transition,
Oh,
Misha.
thank you.
Didn't
We're
look
getting better
shameless
at this
plug.
shit.
Yes.
Wow,
Yeah.
look at us after more than a year.
Oh, okay. I think I said it last year, but I the reason I love this movie is because it's like it balances the wish fulfillment with the slapstick, with the cartoon violence, and some honest emotion that you really don't see coming in a major slapstick silly movie like this.
And something I already mentioned earlier, it also touches on the dysfunctional family dynamic.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Because like Kevin, for some fucking reason, just always gets left behind.
Yeah, and why is Uncle Frank? Why does he exist? Jerk.
Because, there's always this one gold digging family member that, that everybody thinks is a jerk, but everybody just has to deal with because, he's family. And that's Uncle Frank.
That is true.
And that's our titas who's always asking, oh, kailan ka ikakasal? Kailan ka magkakaanak?
Tumataba ka yata.
Parang yun yung pinaka-nakakainis, di ba?
It's the holidays, tita.
Yeah.
Bakit? Ikaw, mataba ka pa rin.
Or like, just because my worldview doesn't subscribe to yours, doesn't align with yours, there's nothing wrong with that. Just because all you ever wanted to do in life was get married.
Oh, damn.
Ooh.
So I feel like all these traps and like all this pain Kevin starts to inflict on the robbers are kind of like what we'd wish we could do to our annoying relatives.
I never read the movie that way. What the shit?
Well, that's a different kind of
like
wishful
Kevin was projecting his
thinking.
anger at his family onto these two poor, helpless criminals who just wanted stuff.
But
They
they
were just-
don't die. It's fine. Nobody dies.
So
So
they
it's
weren't
okay.
going up against Baby Jigsaw. They were going up against Kevin's family issues.
Wait,
Possibly.
I have a question now.
What?
Who do you think would win with prep time, Kevin McAllister or Batman?
Wow, I genuinely don't know how to answer that.
I say Kevin because he doesn't have the budget. So with how much money he has compared to Batman's, he can do so much more if given Batman's
There was
budget.
this time
Probably.
that
Just saying.
Probably.
Macaulay Culkin was on, I think it was on Kimmel or something, or one of the Jimmys, and
One of
it was
One
one,
of
of
the
the Jimmys.
Jimmys.
It was Fallon. It was Corden. It was
Corden is a James.
still a Jimmy.
He doesn't go by Jimmy though.
Fine. Anyway, so Macaulay Culkin's all like, sometimes he'll be on a date or whatever, and the girl, they'll be watching movies at home, chilling, and all of a sudden the girl just wants to watch Home Alone. And he said, like, at the beginning, it was weird. It was weird.
That's so
So
cringe.
he'll just cut to the chase. You just want to say you watched Home Alone with Macaulay Culkin, didn't you? And they're like, yeah. So he ends up doing it, It's like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Because, you're watching it. You remember things. You just get into it. At some point, you're mouthing the lines along with the movie. And then he's like, but hey, whatever gets her motor running. So I'm like,
Not gonna lie, I probably would date him just to do that. Just to say that I watched Home Alone with Macaulay Culkin.
That's a weird flex, but we can accept that.
Yeah,
I guess,
right? Right?
I'm not gonna
Yeah, I understand it.
Yeah,
look at it this way.
like,
He
I
had
watched-
to put up with how many years of just the trauma of just being the Home Alone kid. I'm glad that he's made peace with it, honestly.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people just like walk up to him in the street and do the face like,
With or without yelling.
yeah.
So iconic. It's one of the most
Or-
iconic Christmas movies ever.
Or somebody would just be like, Kevin!
Or okay, and then now we got this bullshit remake on Disney Plus. It's called Home Sweet Home Alone. It's called
What?
Home Sweet Home Alone.
Home Alone.
And the lead character, the boy, is the kid from Jojo Rabbit.
Oh,
the
he's
mom,
cute.
Yeah, but you should see the trailer.
Oh my god, no, he's not cute
I didn't
anymore,
see the
dude.
trailer.
The mom is the wife from that show where Paul Rudd gets cloned, and
Living with
Living
myself.
That was a great fucking show. I wish they'd make a second
Yes, it
season.
was.
And basically, it has the two criminals, their husband and wife now in this one. They have a legit reason to go into the fucking house because little Jojo Rabbit kid was a dick to them when they visited their house earlier in the day. And next thing they know, a $200,000 antique doll of theirs is missing. So they figure the
Not
kid
so
must
cute
have
anymore,
taken
huh?
it, right? The kid must have taken it, and they have every reason in the world to suspect that he did because he was just being a little jerk. Like you would want to drop this kid through a window if he was being a jerk.
So MJ, you should see the trailer. Like really.
Wait, so like the bad
Okay.
guys in this one, they have every valid reason in the world to want their property back. So you can't even hate on them or laugh when they're getting beat to shit because you feel bad for them because they have to deal with this little jerk. And you know how everybody
Little
always
shit.
says that Home Alone could never happen today because we got cell phones, we got smartphones, we got GPS, we got all sorts of technology that you could call home. No, they're just really fucking stupid in this movie. But the absolute worst thing is that when the mom calls the cops, the parents call the cops to try and get them to visit the house, the one that shows up is Buzz from the old Home Alone. And he's old and he's fat and he's balding and it's really sad. And then he says that I don't want to take this call. I don't want to take this call to this house because every year before Christmas, my brother prank calls the station that some kid has been left home alone and he's doing it again.
Okay.
It's a really bad movie.
I know it's a really bad movie. If that was the highlight of the movie.
It was really
That's
bad.
probably that's a good touch on it, but yeah, I'm curious. We'll see if I
No,
finish
you will
this
never
holiday
be drunk
season.
enough. It's really bad.
It was
Oh,
really,
wow.
it's probably just really trying to cash in on, how iconic the original movies
Yeah, of
were.
course.
Much like the Mighty Ducks series was cashing in on how iconic the Mighty Ducks
I
movies
kind of
were.
like the
But
series.
the series is actually
Yeah,
good. Not like
that's fine.
this-
You could play with nostalgia without insulting the audience or without making.
yeah, but this is just
Yeah, this is
insulting
garbage.
everything.
It's so bad. Home Sweet Home Alone.
So bottom line, stick with Home Alone, the original, and maybe
Yeah,
New
for
York.
sure.
That's fine too. Yeah.
New
so
York.
again, we already talked about this in last year's Christmas episode, so go check it out.
Link in
So,
bio.
yeah, thanks to a whole bunch of people who answered Home Alone, to Maxi, to Ben Opinion, hi guys, to Call Me
Hello.
Tiggy, Rob Allo, and my boyfriend Jason. So
Sina.
that's Home Alone.
Hi
Sina, Sina.
Jason. Hi
I didn't
Jason.
quite catch that. I
My
didn't hear
boyfriend
that.
My boyfriend Jason.
Hi, Jason.
Wow.
Jason, is it?
Magaling daw sa
Moving
COD
on.
yun.
Moving on. Okay, another one for the rom-com fans is actually Love Actually. Something you mentioned already.
Woo!
Mentioned by my amiga Ainara and Jules Julian Juno. So Love
love
Actually,
this
classic.
movie.
Good stuff.
Mhm,
Remember
it
the,
is.
la-
I
the
love
first
this
time I
movie.
saw that with my parents? I mean, I saw it in the cinema. I loved it. And then I saw it with my parents later on. And I completely forgot that there was a porno shoot in the middle.
I love that. Actually, that was one of my favorite
I
sequences.
love that, but
'cause
not
when
with
I
your
was watching
parents.
No, that's funny how you mentioned that scene because I first saw this movie with a friend and then I brought it home. Mom, look at this movie. Watch this movie with me. Played the DVD and then the porno scene happens. Like, oh shit! And my mom just looks at me and just laughs.
Awkward.
But seriously, the way that movie, kicked off this whole stupid trend of anthology movies, anthology rom-coms.
Yes. It actually started. It's in the 2000s, right?
Yeah,
Late 2000s. It was the trend
Late-
of the late
yeah.
2000s.
Early
This was in
2010s.
medyo early
Yeah.
2000s at or mids. And they started this trend of like many different characters and couples whose stories are interweaved into
Vaguely
one
intertwined.
occasion. Yeah. But this is actually the best one that I can remember out of those kinds of rom-coms. Because like after that came New Year's Eve and Valentine's Day, which were both bleh.
Like there's the very clear difference between those trashy rom-com movies trying to cash in on the superstar cast that they had. Like there's one clear difference that Love Actually had that these other movies didn't. Love Actually had a lot of heart in it, and it's reflected in all of the small stories that are being presented in the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was
Like-
cute. It featured couples of all ages, so it was very relatable to like many kinds of people. You have like older couples, you have like the usual rom-com 20s,
Mhm.
30s protagonists. You even have
Mhm.
kids, like a puppy
Mhm.
love. It's just super adorable. But personally, okay, I'm just gonna kind of skip over the fact that maybe the most iconic scene there with what's his name, Andrew Lincoln and Keira Knightley. The one with
It's
the
not
signs.
romantic.
Coral.
To me, you
That
are
is not
Perfect.
romantic.
Without
You
agenda.
do not do
Yes!
that to your best friend.
It's-
Fuck you.
Yeah, you're being a
It's-
dick. Just accept it,
It's
bro.
creepy.
It is
You lost
and
out.
problematic. It's so, but like a lot of people ate that shit up. But you know what?
Back
It's
then.
Christmas.
Don't do that to your best friend. Come on. You had your shot.
Mhm.
You didn't take it. You cannot creep on your best friend's wife after the fact.
Yes.
Yeah,
Nuh-uh.
that was problematic. But I don't know. First time I watched it, me and a lot of people were like, "Oh, that's so sweet." But like when you think about it, it's like
No. When I
His
first
best
saw that,
friend
I was like one of
30
the.
feet away watching TV.
You know,
Exactly.
when I first saw that, I was like probably one of the few people at that time that said like that's kind of a dick move. Like why?
It is a dick.
Because I didn't
It's
like
a
it.
dick
I really
move.
didn't like it. As in, I mean, I understand the sentiment. It was supposed to be romantic. It's supposed to be, a bit
Unrequited
painful.
love, that kind of
Unrequited
thing.
love. That's why he kind of like does not want to talk to Keira Knightley's character because he doesn't want to get hurt. But then again, you go there and you profess your love, albeit silently, to your best friend's new wife. Because they're newly married. It's an asshole move. I didn't
Dick
like it.
move.
But everything else
Dick.
about the movie, I love,
Yeah.
especially Liam Neeson.
I completely agree that this movie had heart versus. Look, don't get me wrong, okay? I don't despise Valentine's Day and New Year's Eve, the movies. I like parts of them, but I cannot, I just
Yeah.
can't wrap my head around them as a whole. And the fact that
Yeah.
they were both directed by Gary Marshall, whose work I generally like, Princess Diaries and
Yeah.
Pretty Woman,
Oh,
all
yeah.
these. I guess he was just really jumping on that trend of these mega star powered anthology things. But the thing is, those movies were designed around the holidays versus Love Actually wasn't even about Christmas. It was what you guys said. It was about love and all its different forms. And that's why it works because it wasn't based on the gimmick of the holiday. It just happened to
Yep.
be
Yeah.
during the holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And as usual, Hollywood producers took the wrong takeaway and they made their own version without understanding what made the original work in the first place.
So again, stick to the original.
Here's the thing: British people know how to make movies like this better than Americans
Hey, it's
do.
Richard Curtis. That guy's awesome.
Probably in that movie, as opposed to what people would think that, oh, my favorite stories are the ones where he ends up with her or she ends up with him. No, but I actually like the story about Bill Nye because he was playing
God, I
himself
love Bill
as a
Nye.
recording artist. Because one of
Billy
it was the best part of is Billy Mack as
Best.
a recording artist, trying to find love, a good time to spend the holidays. He didn't even know how or who to spend it with, and then he finds out. He just eventually ends up spending time with his manager, which was amazing because he didn't. His manager also didn't have anywhere to go or anyone to see for the holidays, so they just spent it together, and that was so genuine. I love that story.
And this is something that I'm going to share in the groups when this episode premieres. I'm going to share the 10-minute sequel that they did for charity of Love Actually, where they reunited pretty much the entire cast.
Oh, that was
it
good.
so
That was
fucking good. They got
I have not
everybody's
seen
in
this.
there except Snape for obvious reasons. And Emma Thompson also
Always.
declined to be in it because Snape wasn't there.
Snape.
Oh, God bless his soul, Alan Rickman.
But it's just wonderful because you get to see everybody where they are essentially 13 years after the original movie, where they're at. You see that Colin Firth and and his former maid, they got kids and they're
The Portuguese. woman.
yeah, and the kids speak Portuguese with the mom behind the dad's back. It's hilarious. And Andrew Lincoln comes back with more fucking cue cards and he knocks on the door again. but
He's still at it.
there's
What
a
the
twist
fuck?
because like he said, I'm not gonna bother you anymore. I'm gonna go marry a supermodel or whatever. He reveals that he actually married Kate Moss, who also has cue cards. It's kind of sweet. It's kind of
Aw.
sweet. And then you see Liam Neeson's kid come up to him to tell him that he asked the American girl to marry him, and she's there too. She's there too, and they're all grown up, and they're telling dad that they're getting married.
My heart.
Cute.
And the prime
I need
minister
to watch
is
this.
still with Natalie, and he's still dancing like an idiot, except I think now it's Hotline Bling. But, but he's dancing like an idiot in 12 Downing. It's a wonderful,
my
wonderful
heart.
sequel
Hotline Bling,
that
though.
they did for shoot, what did they do it for? They did it for comic relief for Red
Yes.
Nose Day.
Joke
Red
lang.
Red Nose Day, yes.
Red
They did
Nose
it for
Day.
comic relief, and it was good. It was Richard Curtis writing and directing once again, got everybody back together. Even Mr. Bean's in this. So, they got
Oh,
every
wow.
damn buddy back together. Because,
Was he like flourishing? All these movements,
of
decorating.
course, you got to watch it.
box?
I'm going to share it in the
Yes.
group after this.
Aw, yay.
It'll give
I
you the
definitely
fuzzies,
watch
honestly,
that.
because it's just so nice because you remember all these characters. And
It's like a reunion
awesome
of
seeing what
sorts.
they're all up to. Absolutely. Absolutely, yes.
Oh, actually, just pretty sad that obviously Alan Rickman couldn't join.
MJ did touch on Snape, aka Alan Rickman. Like Snape and Professor Trelawney being together is probably one of the saddest stories. But eventually we do know what happens to Professor Snape or Alan
Absolutely.
Rickman. I think he gets some sort of punishment, right?
Oh, yeah. So funny you mentioned that because another Christmas movie with Alan Rickman is also considered a classic by a lot of people like Mark Jumampo and Carlo M. Cantoria. And we already mentioned this
straight.
earlier.
Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Yippee-ki-yay,
rules, and the cool thing
motherfucker.
about Die Hard is if you watch it right after Love Actually, you can see Snape getting punished for what he did to Professor Trelawney. Like, seriously, okay? You do not
Oh my
do that to
God.
Emma Thompson. No. You are getting
you do
dropped off the
not.
building.
No, you do not.
Oh, but I watched Die Hard again recently, and can I just say, Alan
Fuck
Rickman
yeah.
was amazing in it. Like, I was fucking blown away.
Hans
Hans
Gruber.
Gruber.
Hans Gruber,
Hans Gruber?
especially that part where he goes face to face with John McClane, and John McClane doesn't know that he's
He does
Hans,
that-
and he pretends to be one of the office guys, and he
The worst
switches to
American
an American
accent.
accent so smoothly.
Yeah.
Yes.
But still, that gave me goosebumps.
And that's
like,
something
holy shit,
that's something
this is-
cool, right? So
oh
like
my
the first
God.
Die Hard came out in what, 87, 88, and Alan Rickman was 42. And that was like the movie that really made him famous. And whenever he was interviewed, he would always say, just don't give up on whatever you love, whatever you're passionate about. Don't give up. Look at me. I was 42
Oh.
before I became famous.
Oh,
Absolutely.
God bless his soul.
But
I miss him. Like he's literally the only person I can take with that kind of like nasally voice, and I love it. I love. Usually I'm like
Because it's so low. It's not like the high annoying. Yes, hello.
now you're just doing Stitch.
It's the low
Just
nasal
doing
voice.
Stitch.
I know it sounded
Yeah,
like
that's even cute, but I
But-
can't even do
Cousin?
that annoying.
But yeah,
What's up?
Hans Gruber.
Alan Rickman is the most charming motherfucker in that movie, honestly. He's well
I
dressed,
loved
you know. He's cultured. He speaks well.
Yeah, you do know he's a dangerous villain if he's charming and if he's rich.
Yeah, I
and
know.
if he
The
dresses
the good guy's just running around barefoot and undershirt, miserable.
Yeah, why can't he put some fucking shoes on? I know it's a
He
running
tried.
gag, but
The ones he
come
got
on,
were too
put some fucking
small.
shoes on. How about the ones you walked in with, dumbass? But anyway, I don't even know why there has been this great debate on why Die Hard is or isn't a Christmas movie. I don't know where it started, but for some reason people are arguing about it. So how about do you guys consider Die Hard? a
Okay,
Christmas
here I
movie?
want to hear what Misha thinks because up until like 3 years ago is only when I accepted it as a Christmas
Look,
movie.
okay. The argument of a lot of people that it couldn't be it's not a Christmas movie is they say they could have said it at any time of year, right? That's what they say. But if you
That's
look
true.
at it, I don't think that's entirely true because it takes place at he gets together with his wife specifically because it is the holidays and that's when families get together. So he figures he's going to give his marriage one more shot. They meet at the office Christmas party. The office building is pretty much empty because it's Christmas. That's why the bad guys get to pull their heist. So you couldn't have said it at some other time of the year, all of ththose things come together. That's why everyone was on low security. That's why the building was empty. That's all, and it really was about how families come together during the holidays and what you're willing to do, I guess, to help the ones you love. So in a very bloody, brutal kind of way, it is a Christmas movie, and the end credits, they play Let It Snow. So yeah, it's totally a Christmas movie.
They also
Okay,
like
fine,
sneak in
fine.
some parts in the musical score where you have like
Yeah,
dramatic Christmas songs
that's
playing while
true.
people are
Michael
shooting each
Kamen
other in the
stuck in some
face.
jingle bells in there.
Yeah, they did. So yeah, I guess it is at the end of it somehow families getting together. But if you're not one for like all the warm fuzzies all throughout the movie, then yeah, watch Die Hard.
What you said earlier about Christmas not being everybody's cup of tea, that's entirely true because emotions are heightened, because families are reuniting, that can take a toll on a lot of people for whom this is not their cup of tea. And that's why it's become, screenwriter shorthand. If you're feeling fucking lazy just to show that your character's depressed, set your movie at Christmas and have them be alone, right? The audience already knows by default that this person is depressed because why are they alone at Christmas? So yeah, they're lazy.
Yeah, but Die Hard,
So
I
good. And the
thoroughly enjoyed
script is
it.
so good. It's ridiculous.
It's just so different because traditionally, what back during that time, what were your traditional Christmas movies? The Grinch, it's a Charlie Brown Christmas, It's a Beautiful Life. I don't know, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That was it's all about Christmas spirit, Christmas cheer. It's all about happiness, joy. But then you have fucking Bruce Willis, who was a sitcom,
Pretty much sitcom, dramedy.
heartthrob
Let's go with
type
dramedy.
actor.
It was a
running-
detective show.
drama. Okay, fine. Dramedy type actor. Well, not your
right.
typical
Action heroes look
back
like
in
the
day, back
Terminator
in
or
the 80s,
Rambo.
not your typical. Yeah, you had like Dolph Lundgren, you had like Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And then you have this
right.
the
You
normal
had this guy who's not even like this dude like walks into a party
Yeah.
trying to reconcile with his wife and starts
Can I
shooting
just
up
say
people.
though, like the first 5 minutes of this movie, you see its age. First off, he's literally got his gun on him on the
Yeah.
plane as a cop. And the second he gets to the terminal, he lights a fucking cigarette
Yeah.
while waiting for his luggage. And I'm like, this movie is so
Yeah.
80s.
People can
Like,
smoke
wow.
anywhere.
Yeah, you can smoke anywhere, and obviously how people were dressed. And God, can I just also mention how he starts off with a white tank top, and midway it's black or red.
What's from crawling through
Like,
all
damn.
those air ducts and killing
like
all
a
those people? You-
Yeah, wala lang. Andungis lang for a Christmas movie. But I liked it. I
I
really
can understand
enjoyed it.
why Jake Peralta loves this
Jake
movie so
Peralta
much.
can
though.
recite this movie, and I respect this because I can too. But
Yes.
no, I was gonna say that I think part of the debate comes to the fact that this was released as a traditional summer blockbuster. It came out in the middle of the summer. It didn't come out at Christmas. So I guess for a lot of people, subconsciously, they weren't even thinking that.
Interesting.
So when did it become? When did it become a Christmas movie? Was it immediately right after the release?
No, I'd
or
say like the last
right
10,
after-
15 years. That's the only time it really became like the whole postmodern thing now. Die Hard is totally a Christmas movie. Like retroactively, it became a Christmas movie.
Wow.
That's interesting. So I'm not. It's not too late, pala, for me to accept this. It's fairly recent.
Because like okay, perfect example. The
Parang mga-
second movie is set at Christmas, but I don't think of it as a Christmas movie. Does that make sense? The second movie, yeah, I don't consider it a Christmas
What?
movie. It just happens to be set at Christmas.
Okay,
Okay.
that's
Because
That's
the second movie isn't as good, honestly.
yeah. I
For
mean, like,
that reason alone, it's not a Christmas
It's like
movie.
they only set it at Christmas because the first one was set at Christmas. They didn't have any deeper purpose behind it. It's kind of like Valentine's Day and New Year's Eve again. It's like, let's just do what worked last time. Let's do what worked
So,
last time. Like,
Recurring
they
theme.
literally have Bruce Willis in the movie say, how can the same shit happen to the same guys 2 years in a row? So, yeah.
So, lesson learned. We will once again just go
Oh
back
my
to the
God.
original.
This isn't a
Don't
Christmas
watch anything
episode.
that
It's an
comes
avoid the
after.
sequels and remakes episode.
that's true. Wait. Okay, fine. Since you mentioned something about avoiding sequels and franchise, whatever. There's this one Christmas movie that I really enjoyed that does not have a sequel, so we're pretty safe from that. I really like The Nightmare Before Christmas. Personally, one of my
Ooh,
favorites.
Yes. That was also mentioned by Antoinette.
Yeah, it's
on
a
Instagram.
musical for one. Everything was
Mhm.
sang by Danny Elfman.
I love The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Interesting.
Even if it was a Tim Burton movie, which always gives off a Halloween vibe, This was specifically very whimsical still. You know, despite the Halloweeny visuals, you still had very Christmassy elements to it.
Yeah, it's interesting na parang but people a lot of people don't realize is that it's not a Tim Burton directed movie. It was Tim Burton's original work, but he had his friend direct it for him because he was in the middle of shooting the sequel of Batman.
That is a good Christmas movie.
So he had to.
Batman Returns is a
Batman Returns is a good Christmas movie.
I love that fucking movie.
Oh, what the fuck.
Well,
I can't believe we got to Batman.
I also did not expect.
Of all
I
the
did not
things
expect.
that were
I
on
did not
this
see this
list,
coming.
I did not expect Batman.
No. Okay. Bear with me. The first Batman movie, Tim Burton was still working within the studio guidelines. He already had a hit with Beetlejuice. So the studio's like, okay, we kind of trust you. Make your Batman movie. And then the Batman movie he made in 1989 was like the biggest fucking movie ever at that point. So by the time the sequel came along and Tim Burton wasn't interested in doing a sequel, they had to say, you can do whatever you want. So Batman Returns is the most Tim Burton-y movie that Tim Burton has ever made, precisely because there was nobody to tell him no. And it's so traumatized children and it's so horrified parents, they would not let him direct another one. And that's part of the reason I love it. Because remember what I said earlier about Christmas being about the season where screenwriter shorthand of showing how somebody is lonely, how somebody's broken, how somebody's emotionally fragile by having them be alone during the holidays, right? This movie is about 3 fucking broken people and how they each try to deal with their own personal traumas. There's this kid billionaire who still can't get over the death of his parents. There's this woman who's been ignored her entire life until she's thrown out of a window and brought back to life by some cat saliva. And then there's this child who was abandoned by his parents, you know, when he should have been prince of the city just because he was different. And he had no idea why other children got to go home to their parents and he had to live in the fucking sewers with penguins. And how all of these broken figures just happen to congregate in crazy, weird-ass costumes and, you know, fight for control of the city. It just works somehow. And they maximize the entire Christmas season of it, from the Christmas tree lighting to how annoying it can get sometimes with all the people collecting for charities on the sidewalks. You know, Santa Claus ringing his little bell outside the department store collecting for whatever charity. And it's a more scathing indictment of Christmas than Nightmare Before Christmas, and it's by the same dude. It's still Tim Burton.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I never
I think Nightmare Before Christmas was just as Tim Burton as Batman.
It's a Tim Burton movie. That's why I love Batman Returns. It has next to nothing to do with Batman. Batman is barely in it if you watch. It's about Penguin and Catwoman most of the time.
That's very true. Batman's just there for the action sequences, but that's it.
Because Michael Keaton wasn't entirely comfortable in the outfit also. He also had to be convinced to come back. Again, studio took the wrong lessons from it and let Jim Carrey do whatever the hell he wanted in Batman Forever. So, you know, it got ridiculous.
Yeah, but it's just amazing that Tim Burton was able to do 2 Christmas movies with very dark themes at the same time. Because I'm pretty sure he had a very big part in Nightmare Before Christmas while he was shooting. But it's just nuts. I wonder what the logistics were like being him. That's just crazy.
I think Batman Returns works on the same level as Home Alone to some degree because kids have always at some point felt like an outsider. Somebody from the outside who's looking in, and that is Bruce Wayne the damn way, you know. That's why I don't subscribe to Quentin Tarantino's analysis of Superman and Batman from Kill Bill 2. I agree with it on a physiological level, but not on a thematic, character-based level, because in Kill Bill, Tarantino argues that somebody like Uma Thurman's bride can never give up being an assassin because it's just who and what she is. And Bill says that's what Superman is. You know, Superman is a god. He has no disguise to remove. He is who he is, and that's it. Versus Batman. Batman is the costume. Superman is who he is. Batman is a costume. But they got it completely backwards because, as far as Bruce Wayne is concerned, Bruce Wayne died the night his parents died. Ever since then, he's been Batman. And that's what Tim Burton fucking understood. And that's what Michael Keaton loved about the approach. Bruce Wayne is the disguise, not the bat suit. He's never more comfortable when he's beating the shit out of criminals. He hates doing the whole playboy, aloof thing. That's the disguise. That's what I loved, what Christian Bale's portrayal of it, where he would pay, the entire Russian ballet to hang out at his yacht just so he looks like a big badass playboy.
It's always been
Because
Batman.
he's never happier than when he's in that stupid cape. Versus Superman, who was raised human. His values are what make him a hero because he was raised by farmers. It wasn't because he had powers. It was because he was raised by good people. That's
I
what
really
Cavill
never
and
saw
Snyder
Batman
never
as a
understood.
Christmas figure ever, but now that you put it that
He's
way.
the loneliest little
All
boy
right.
in the
No,
world.
but
That's
Alright.
Batman has a
in
lot of
nutshell.
good Christmas stories, though. He does.
He
You have
does.
Batman
Interesting.
Noel. That's really good. It's a comic book. You should watch the Christmas special of Batman the Animated Series, the one where Joker has a song about Batman. It's pretty good too. I mean, it's Batman the Animated Series, and then of course Batman Returns,
Good stuff.
the most traumatizing Batman movie ever.
Returns. I really probably should not have watched that as a child, but I could not take my eyes off the screen. I just knew it was wrong. It was messed up. It was disturbed.
still do. I
but
still watch it.
I loved it, and I still do.
We do talk about this in our horrifying non-horror
Frickin-
episodes.
Freaking
Last
bleeding
Halloween?
penguin with green blood, black green blood.
Coming back.
Shameless plug. All right. So, I never thought we'd ever have that conversation,
did,
but all right. Batman.
Misha,
add it to your
Misha
list.
just gave it away. I mean, like, I
Batman
was supposed to be
Returns.
like, that one thing I wanted to do was to kind of like bring in Batman. And then Misha was like, oh my god, Batman Returns is such a good Christmas. Fuck, that was supposed to be. Thanks for stealing my thunder, Misha. It's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
It's fine.
So much for
It's
Anjo's
fine.
I'm
curveball.
sorry.
Batman.
Oh, and speaking of curveballs, there's this one really interesting entry by II_SGCN. This user actually suggested Female Trouble by John Waters. Have you guys heard of that?
I have
I've
not.
heard of
What is
John
this
Waters,
movie
I've heard of
about?
Female Trouble, but I've never
It's
seen
actually a
it.
dark comedy starring one of our favorite drag queens, Divine, who we also have
Ursula?
mentioned. Yes, Ursula, basically. So it's not what you expect from a Christmas movie, but it actually starts off at Christmas. It all like shit starts when the protagonist it goes ape shit when her parents refuse to give her the shoes she wants for Christmas because like apparently they're like really they think it's like, oh, those are slutty heels. Good girls don't have those kind of heels, those cha-cha heels. And that just it's also like it starts off with that whole dysfunctional family dynamic and it gets so fucking dark. It ends up somehow with murder, crime, and all the shit you don't expect. But it does start off because of Christmas. It's like it's fucking dark, you guys. So if you're one of those people who doesn't like this like fuzzy, warm, lovey-dovey Christmas shit, oh dude, watch Female Trouble. And Divine's in it, so it's gonna be delightful.
That's kind of interesting because I would never associate murder in a Christmas movie except maybe for Die Hard.
Not just murder. I think it's way darker. It's way darker than Die Hard. It has like oh my god, so much crime. The interesting thing about it is everything just like snowballs into one chaotic story after this unfortunate Christmas incident. But what's interesting about this is just how John Waters and Divine collaborations, their films together are so fucked up. Like so absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and they like to explore whatever's taboo because, like, I guess given these times that these movies were made, drag wasn't as accepted as it is now. Like, now we have a freaking reality show that's been winning Emmys that's all about drag. But at that time that these films were made, they really paved the way for drag and drag queens. And since it was such a taboo thing back then, they really, like, pushed the limit on what they could do. It's like we already started with drag in general as something taboo. Let's just fucking roll with it and like put all the dark shit we could. We just experiment and make people's jaws drop. And that's just like what I find so amazing about Divine and John Waters movies. They just really push the envelope on what's considered taboo. And another thing, I didn't expect it to be a Christmas movie that we could put on this list, but this user, II_SGCN, was like, hit the nail on the head with like the unconventional Christmas movie, so we could add to this list.
I should I should probably find a copy of this movie and
Ah.
watch it, but not with my
Nope.
family.
No, do not.
I'll watch it with you. I'll watch it with you
For
guys.
the
though.
love
I
of
would,
God,
but
don't watch it with your family.
I am not watching this with my
It
wife.
has so much. It has so much murder.
Yeah, maybe she might be down for that.
I think something that Christmas movies do well is that it makes us confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves when the world is forcing us to be happy.
Oh yeah, like things that could totally. Case in point, female trouble.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It's like how you choose to confront your demons that you've been avoiding the whole year because there's no work during this time in general, right? So the whole world just kind of pauses for about like a week or so towards the end of the year to make way for Christmas and New Year and all these things. So you are left essentially to contemplate all of your mistakes, all of your troubles, all of your anger, all of your angst. Because I'm telling you, like, the absolute worst thing in the world to be left alone with a lot of the time is your own thoughts, especially when everyone around you is forcing you to smile.
Yeah, and it starts out with fucking shoes that she didn't get for Christmas. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, so interesting how this all unfolds.
Yeah, I gotta watch this movie.
But if you guys are curious, I don't want to spoil anything. It is a dark Christmas movie, but this, I feel like it does apply as a Christmas movie because, shit starts because of Christmas. La lang. Yeah, so maybe you could like prepare Home Alone after. I would probably suggest
just as a
it.
palate
Something,
cleanser.
yeah, like a palate cleanser, something like really light and easy to watch. Just
Batman
like
Returns?
another film suggested by a bunch of people. Another movie suggested by my Atenika, my cousin, and Jason. Again, I did not know Jason was
Sina?
so into holiday
Sina?
movies.
Who is this Jason?
Who's this? Who suggested it?
I like
Jake? Some dude named Jake?
Peralta?
Jake. Cool.
cool. But yeah,
Cool.
it's just so interesting that like I'm really not into these holiday movies, but he suggested a lot. So anyway.
Nice.
He suggested Elf,
Yeah!
directed by
I love this
Jon
movie.
That is
Favreau,
awesome!
starring Will Ferrell, and it's probably a good Christmas movie to follow up after you watch Female
Probably,
Trouble.
Man,
judging by
I
how
love Elf.
your description of female trouble, this sounds like an appropriate movie to follow it up with.
Yeah.
I love
So-
Elf.
Jean Favreau's
I love Elf.
debut film.
Well,
It
yeah,
was.
I actually was surprised because I watched it years back and then I watched it again recently and then nagulat ako. Like, oh, it's Jon Favreau. I did not expect that. But it is utterly delightful. It has Zoe Deschanel without bangs and I almost did not
Bizarre,
recognize
bizarre.
her.
It's like a whole nother
It
person.
is, I know, but she's not as annoying and quirky here. She's quirky, but not
She was so
annoying.
cute here. I love Zoe Deschanel in this
Not
movie.
annoyingly quirky.
But this
She's
was-
not at
yeah.
that
This
level
was
yet.
before the
but-
height of her manic pixie dream girl
She
thing.
hadn't figured out her branding yet, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't have your 500
wala pa
days of
siyang-
summer.
Wala pa siyang bangs, so she hasn't
Yun nga. Yeah. After 500 Days of Summer, she just
Bang.
became, like tiring.
Well, she in Elf, she was like just the right amount of quirky because you got her like she's working at a Christmas store and initially all
Begrudgingly
grumbly,
working in a Christmas store.
but she eventually is the one that helps save Christmas at the end. But let's talk about Will Ferrell, of course. I want to get to Will Ferrell because I honestly thought it was gonna be cringe because it is actually possible to get sick of watching
yes,
Will
yes,
Ferrell act the
yes.
fool. You've seen him so many times in SNL and his many comedies, and just like the influx of stupid characters by Will Ferrell can get a little bit sickening.
It gets too far sometimes.
Yeah,
It goes too
yeah.
far.
But this is the film where you want to see Will Ferrell at his most ridiculous cuckoo bananas version of himself with a sprinkle of Christmas cheer. So this is a good one to go for. Like, it's one of his best. in my
I think what
opinion.
makes it work is the sincerity in his performance. There's nothing cynical about it whatsoever. He looks
Yeah.
genuinely happy to be talking about Christmas and Santa Claus and the other elves and making toys and giving presents. And I love that they juxtapose it against his grumpy ass father who just hates everything, who's played by James Caan. And they play off each other great. And it's not yet the Will Ferrell of later years where he's just doing the same thing over and over
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Here it was still something fresh, and they were backing it up with, I think,
Yeah.
some genuine sentiment.
Because Will Ferrell has this thing where he gets to play this lovable fish out of water idiot man-child. There you go. That he pulls off in Elf surprisingly well. That gets tiring in Anchorman 2. There's a very big
man.
difference between
I
that.
was so upset with Anchorman too.
Yeah, but it's
Such
not.
a wasted
Yeah, so
opportunity.
and then essentially they're able to tell this story, this father and son story. That just, I guess, again we're going back to what MJ said about family dynamics. Like with Will Ferrell, he's estranged to his father because he grew up as an adopted kid. Strangely adopted in the North Pole
Adopted by elves.
elves.
And he had no idea. He had no idea.
He had no idea.
No matter how giant he is compared to everybody else.
But
What is
you know,
that?
and again, going back to what we mentioned earlier, this movie just has so much heart in it because there's just these genuine performances by all these characters, and I guess the filmmakers, the writers, from the filmmakers to the writers, to the performers, like everything was just so genuine, and they had so much passion for this movie.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I was so ready to roll my eyes at it because like from the get-go, it's so Christmassy down to the set. You started off at Santa's workshop with elves who are happy to work. Like the fuck, who the hell likes work? But it starts off that way. I was so ready to cringe, but Will Ferrell just embracing the character so wholeheartedly, not worried about looking like a fucking idiot, wearing a fucking elf suit the entire
Yes.
movie.
Did you know?
And just being so genuinely excited at everything. It just
Did you know that they actually shot those scenes where he finds his way to New York with a guerrilla crew? Like parang they were just
like on the
like,
street. He
on
was
the
like
street.
going up to actual people.
Yeah.
They had no idea what was going on.
yeah,
That was
they
real.
did
Their
that.
reactions were real.
And then
Oh, that's so
It was
cool.
just him, Favreau,
and then one of
camera guy,
the producers saying the real risk of it was somebody hitting Will Ferrell back or something.
Oh.
I remember, I think there's this one scene. This big dude's in an elf suit messing around with you while you're walking in New York of all places.
But that's the beauty of New York. You know how they always say that New Yorkers are blasé because they've seen everything. Especially in movies, they've fucking seen everything.
Yeah.
They've seen crime, they've seen corruption, they've seen Stay Puft Marshmallow Men, they've seen aliens, they've seen Godzilla step on their city. New Yorkers have seen everything. They've seen Will Ferrell in a fucking elf costume. And, it did not faze them. But I think that's why Christmas as a theme works, especially in that movie. Christmas in New York takes on added significance because if the most jaded city on the planet can find the time to spread a little cheer, then there's maybe hope for the rest of us. And I think that's why it works that Will Ferrell goes to New York to find his grumpy father, and it was just fun seeing all the New Yorky Christmassy landmark things like the Christmas tree in Rockefeller Center or Central Park all dressed up, and all the lights and all the department store Santas. Will Ferrell was so excited. Santa!
You're a liar! You're not Santa! It's me, buddy!
And I really loved, I knew I loved this movie. I mean, I already liked it because it was just so off-kilter, but I fucking fell in love with it when it became a Rankin Bass stop-motion
That was
homage.
brilliant.
It
That was like
amazing.
one of the most stoner things they could do to
Became
the
a
movie.
stop-motion
It's like Rankin
thing, I
Bass.
swear.
Fucking crazy.
Would you like to explain this reference for our Gen
Oh,
Z?
right,
For
right.
our
okay.
Gen Z
Rankin
audience.
Bass.
Oh, we have Gen Z
Rankin
audience.
Bass was like this production company that made these stop-motion animated
Christmas
specials back in
specials.
the day. Like there was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, there was Frosty the Snowman.
Okay.
And back in the days of free TV, they would show these things every year.
Okay, for you Gen Zers, if you see a clip on YouTube or on Facebook or on TikTok of a freaking clay Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, that's most likely a Rankin and Bass clip.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much,
I
yeah.
imagine so.
Mhm.
And it just became funny because one of Will Ferrell's friends, his stop motion friend was a narwhal.
Mr. Narwhal. Okay, do you know who voiced the narwhal? Do you know who voiced
Who
narwhal?
voiced the narwhal?
It was John Favreau.
No way.
Yeah, that was John Favreau who voiced the
That
narwhal.
makes it even better. That makes it even better.
John Favreau already makes a cameo before after that. Like he's the doctor
Right.
who did the paternity
Yep,
test.
yep.
When the grumpy old dad was like, "Who is this fucking psycho following me around saying that he's my son?" And then he takes a paternity test and voila.
Oh, he's my son.
Yeah, he's my son, and the doctor is John Favreau.
You know what the bonus is of this movie is it launched John Favreau's career as a director. Without Elf, we probably wouldn't have been able to get Iron Man. We would probably wouldn't
Zathura.
have been. Oh, that's different. We're talking about like you wouldn't be able to get the Book of Boba Fett without freaking John Favreau.
That
He might
is
not, if his career did not take off as a director, he might not been able to do The Mandalorian.
Right. That's true.
So this launched careers. But the one
or Chef.
Yeah.
or Chef,
I love
Oh,
I
man,
fucking
Chef
love
is
Chef.
Brilliant.
yeah,
That is such a feel-good
It
movie.
is.
It literally has no conflict, but you just enjoy
hungry.
Well, the
watching
one
it.
conflict they had there was pretty hilarious too. His meltdown in the restaurant, yeah, that was the best.
Yeah, that's early on. It's
but-
conflict-ish.
Conflict-ish.
Yeah.
No, but okay. But the one thing that really impressed me with this movie was how it was shot. Because you'd think they would be using CG for Will Ferrell, because he's a freaking giant.
Oh, yeah.
He's a giant as it is. But then to put him with elves, that's like a different level of giant.
Yeah, I'm guessing the decision to shoot it to do that effect in camera really helped the budget also, and that's something that Favreau brought forward into his later movies, where he could take like smaller budgets but make them look like like a big blockbuster thing. I mean, just look at Iron Man.
Yes.
It did not cost as much as one would think. The first Iron Man.
Interesting. I love
Really?
John Favreau
Yes.
as a director. So I'm really happy. I'm really happy he made this.
I love him as the ultimate fighting
Really?
champion boyfriend of Monica.
I liked him as that football player in The Replacements.
Also
It's
good.
that dumb cop. It's like, he just wants to tackle people. Cool.
Such a gem of a human. So talented. Okay. So another suggestion. This is funny because Nikki, who says, "Yes, I am basic. The Holiday." It's like, hey, girl, I don't care if it's basic. I freaking love The Holiday.
movie.
Okay.
It's Kate Winslet and Jack Black.
Yeah, it's
I don't think it's
No, it's
basic.
not.
I
It's
don't
really
think
not.
it's basic.
I just gotta share, this is the movie that made me fall in love with Jack Black. Like, people usually roll their eyes or like give me this funny look when I say I have a crush on Jack Black. But this is the movie that really hit the mark for me. Because everybody else had their eyes on Jude Law. Because like, oh, he's the
It's
hot
Jude
one.
Law.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, Jude Law.
but I was head over heels over Jack Black. And who would have thought that he could play that rom-com love interest to Kate fucking Winslet?
This was the most un-Jack Black performance ever.
He
Absolutely.
that
actually
make
very
sense?
was very Jack Black, especially when he was like playing his little his like he was on the
Maybe-
keyboard and being all Jack Black.
I think it's the same thing as Will Ferrell in Elf, that because he anchored this particular performance in some emotional reality, that it wasn't the caricature that his later movies would
Yeah,
make
yeah.
him, right? It wasn't annoying yet. Because it was coming from
Yeah.
someplace real in this
Mas
case.
kinilig ako sa kanya kaysa kay
Jude
Jude
Law.
Law. I swear. Like, see, guys, I don't always have twisted priorities because at the end of the day, you want to spend the rest of your life with someone who makes you laugh. And that's Jack Black for me.
Yes, somebody who does Avengers TikTok videos in his underpants.
His TikTok videos are amazing.
They're
You shut your
gold.
mouth.
You shut your. I love. To this day, I fucking love Jack Black so much, and The Holiday just really did it for me. I swear, Jack Black, another gem of a human. But I can totally relate to Cameron Diaz and Kate Winslet's characters here. They are like also jaded in terms of the holidays, which is why they get away, which is why they go off to trade houses with
holiday.
each other and like the holiday, as the title says.
On a
It
holiday,
goes
you
back
might
to
say.
what Misha,
Really?
Misha said about those tropes where people are,
Lonely.
like lonely. They, do something out of character for each one of them. Then you have movies like these.
And as much as Anjo hates the song, and the band. I just couldn't relate more to Cameron Diaz blasting the Killers' Mr. Brightside with a glass of wine, screaming to the top of her lungs alone in a house, in a cottage.
I forgive Cameron Diaz just because she's Cameron Diaz. But fuck that song. And
Oh
fuck
man,
the
if you
Killers.
guys could see Anjo's face when she was describing the scene,
Whoa.
it looked like it looked like his skin was trying to escape his skull and
I
strangle
don't-
my
I
I
don't care.
I
I
don't-
don't care. I love the song and I love that scene with Cameron Diaz because I completely relate to it.
I'm not gonna deny it's a pretty good song, but I hate the Killers.
But yeah, the holiday not basic at all.
Yeah,
No.
I agree.
Nope,
No,
nope,
it's
nope.
not. It's so relatable. I think, like going through the movies that we've listed down and that you've suggested, I think the one thing in common that these movies have to get, is probably is the heart, the human experience aspect of the stories that are being told, because each one of us can be, will be able to relate to some of the characters that are involved in this movie without it being so either exaggerated or just unrealistic, because everything is pretty real. Even freaking Batman can be at some point relatable and realistic. Fucking Batman.
Yeah.
Even Jack Skellington, who lives in a town called fucking Halloween Town, is
And
relatable.
he's made of clay.
Clay, exactly.
He's made of freaking
the-
clay.
it's Christmas. Christmas brings about different emotions. It could be sad, it could be happy, but one thing's for sure, it will connect to you as a person. That's what's important. That's what makes a good Christmas movie. Not because of, but that's not because of it trying to cash in on the fact that it's a freaking holiday movie. Yeah, we're
Yes.
talking to Hallmark.
Yeah.
I agree. I think absolutely what really makes a Christmas movie isn't even, the trappings of the holiday. Or it's not the tree, it's not the presents. As stupid as this sounds, and this sounds like the moral of a Charlie Brown Christmas, I think. But it really, what you said is you absolutely hit the nail on the head. It's the emotion that the movie brings to the table that determines whether or not it's just a holiday cash grab or if it actually has something to say about people. And that's why, Batman Returns is about broken people. That's why Die Hard is about a man who wants to fix his family. He wants to, and he's trying to reconcile his personal insecurities with, this high-flying executive life that his wife now enjoys and he can't relate to because he's just a regular New York beat cop.
Yep.
And how those two worlds are juxtaposed. But he's going to try and make it work, even if it kills him. And that's the spirit of Christmas, where it brings things out of people. It makes them express emotions in different ways. Absolutely.
And I think that's a good note to end on for this episode. So it's nice to know that we have all these wonderful films to watch during the holidays, and there's something that you can really pull out of it, like genuine human emotion and experience during what could possibly be the happiest season or the loneliest one. So there's always a Christmas movie for anybody, no matter what end of the spectrum you are and how you feel about the holidays. There's something to watch and enjoy while it's all cold and people are singing Christmas songs.
Cold ba talaga sa atin?
Coldish.
Coldish? Okay, I'll take it.
Coldish,
I'll
like
take it. I'll take
a
coldish.
light sweater.
It's been cold.
Like a light hoodie weather, I guess, in general.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you to everybody who sent in their responses. There were a lot more that we weren't able to discuss, but we wish we had more time for them. But thank you to everybody who we've already mentioned earlier. Thank you also to Jox Gonzalez and Mean who sent in their responses, and everybody following us and listening to this podcast.
Yay!
We
Woo!
hope you have a very, very wonderful holiday season.
Merry Christmas,
And,
guys.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, a lot of wine, a lot of food,
Lot of
great
food.
movies to sit and watch with your family or alone. And yeah, we're just right there with you, celebrating getting fat with you. So thank you for joining us. Hey, everybody
If
gets
in
fat.
case
It's
you
okay.
missed out on any movies, just let us know.
Mhm.
We have
Yeah.
our Facebook group, Sub-Auteurs We Like Movies. You can hit us up on Instagram, sub_auteurs. or you can just message us on our Facebook page, Sub-Auteurs. Yeah.
Yeah, we share a lot of fun stuff there. So make sure to follow us and stay tuned for more episodes. This has been Sub-Auteurs, the movie podcast. My name is MJ.
I'm Misha.
Angelo.
Bye.
Doing the maracas
again.
Oh, I didn't get to bother Anjo while he was doing that extra.
You were doing the extra.
No, you did the socials.
Oh, I did. So
Oh,
it's the Christmas spirit.
It's a Christmas miracle.
We can include this whole thing.
We can, because Misha's still singing. Yeah, he's still going.
I got excited for Christmas just recording this episode.